Hello everyone and welcome to Learn English with Tangmation. Today's topic is geometry, English vocabulary. There is a quick test to check your knowledge, so stay till the end and make sure you take it. Before we get started, don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss out on our future videos. You probably know the names of these simple shapes. It's a triangle, a circle, and a square. But do you want to know what these are called? And what are the names of these lines and dimensions? If you want to know, then this video is for you. Please note that this is not a maths lesson. In this video, you will learn the names of geometrical shapes, adjacent dimensions, angles, and more. Okay, so let's go. We'll start with some common two-dimensional shapes. First, a square. As you know, all sides within a square are equal, and they are called just that. Sides. The dimension or line that runs from one corner of the square to the other is called the diagonal. And in this case, it is a diagonal of a square. A sum or a total of all the sides is called a perimeter. And the measurement of a surface is called an area. The area is always squared. In this case, it equals a squared. The corners of a square are called vertices. Note that one corner is called a vertex. Let's now move on to the next shape. A rectangle. The longer side of a rectangular is called a length, and the shorter one, a width. Similar to square, we have a diagonal line, a perimeter, and an area. We also say that the sides opposite to each other are also parallel to each other. Parallel means having the same distance continuously between the lines. Okay, the next shape is a triangle. The side that the triangle sits on is called a base. The tip of the triangle is called an apex. And instead of a diagonal line, there is a line that runs from the apex down to the base. It's called a height. In this case, it's a height of a triangle. The height line has to meet the base at a right angle. We call this relationship a perpendicular. The height is perpendicular to the base. Similar to the other shapes, the total of the sides is called a perimeter. And the measurement of a surface is called an area. There are 4 different types of triangles, and they are called equilateral, where all 3 sides and 3 angles are equal. Isosceles, where 2 sides and 2 angles are equal. Scalene, where there are no equal sides nor equal angles. And right-angled, where one angle is a right angle. Let's look closely at the right-angle triangle, as there is more terminology that you may need. The right angle of a right triangle is usually symbolized by a square within the right angle like this one here. Based on this, you can now recognize the names of the sides. The side opposite the right angle is called hypotenuse. The side that is also the base of the triangle is called adjacent side, and the third one is called the opposite side. As you know, this terminology is important to calculate a perimeter or the area. Since we are talking about the triangles, it's fitting to go over the angles vocabulary. There are 6 different types of angles. Right angle, which is 90 degrees. Acute angle, it is less than 90 degrees. Obtuse angle, one that is greater than 90 degrees but less than 180 degrees. Straight angle, one that is 180 degrees. Reflex angle, one that is greater than 180 degrees but less than 360 degrees. And finally, full rotation, which is exactly full 360 degrees. Okay, now we can move on to the next shape. A circle. There are few dimension names we need to mention here. First, a line that runs from the middle to the edge of the circle is called radius. And a line that runs from the edge to edge of the circle, but also through the middle, is called a diameter. A line that runs from the edge to the edge and doesn't pass the middle point is called a chord. Very important note that in previous shapes, the total of all the sides was called a perimeter. This is no longer true with a circle. The correct name is circumference. The measurement of a surface is still called an area. So, these were the most common 2D shapes. Other two-dimensional shapes are as follows: rhombus, trapezoid, parallelogram, or the ones with equal sides like pentagon, hexagon, or octagon. Based on the ones we discussed in detail, you should be able to understand the basic principles of geometrical shapes and their auxiliary dimensions. Let's now move on to the three-dimensional shapes. One common thing for all of the three-dimensional shapes is that instead of measuring the area, we now focus more on measuring the volume. Volume is the space that an object occupies. Note that the volume is measured in cubes. In this case, it equals a cubed. The other important thing is that since they are three-dimensional shapes, then a part of the length and the width, we now have the third dimension, which is usually a depth. The other important terminology are the faces, edges, and the vertices. Some of the most common three-dimensional objects are a sphere, which you could say it is a cousin of a circle. The most important dimensions here are the diameter and the radius. A cube is a cousin of a square. Important dimensions here are the diagonal line and the edge. A cuboid, a cousin of a rectangle. The most important dimensions here are the length, width, and height. A pyramid, a cousin of a triangle. The most important dimensions here are the base, edge, and height. A cone, also a cousin of a triangle. The most important dimensions here are the base and the height. A cylinder. The most important dimensions here are the length or a height, diameter or a base. Other common object is a prism. Okay, we have now covered the most common shapes, objects, and geometry vocabulary. Now is the time to test your knowledge. So grab a pen and paper if you want. The task is to match the correct definitions. Here are the words and their definitions. Radius, equilateral, diagonal, parallel. And the answers you can choose from are: line that runs from one corner or vertex of the square to the other, type of a triangle where all three sides and three angles are equal, having the same distance continuously between the lines, a line that runs from the middle to the edge of the circle. Okay, so you will now have 10 seconds to try and match the correct definitions. Let's go. Alright, the time is up. Let's see if you got it right. So, radius is a line that runs from the middle to the edge of the circle. Equilateral is a type of a triangle where all three sides and three angles are equal. Diagonal is a line that runs from one corner or vertex of the square to the other. And parallel is having the same distance continuously between the lines. So, did you get it right? If yes, then well done. If not, then maybe watch the video again and give it another go. So this was Geometry English Vocabulary Lesson. We hope you enjoyed it. See our Learn English with Tangmation playlist to learn more about English vocabulary and English grammar. So, until the next time.